Hey, so to make your itinerary, we're going to keep it pretty low tech today, and you're only going to need 4 tools: paper, post-its, a writing utensil, and a map. And the map could be either Google Maps, or if you have a paper map, that works just fine as well. So we're going to make a sample itinerary using the tips and tricks that I gave to you in the email. You ready to get started? Okay, we're going to make a sample itinerary. So let's say that you have been dreaming of going to Italy. You have 2 weeks of vacation time. So the first thing you need to do is make sure that you know how many actual nights that is. So if you were leaving on a Saturday and coming back on a Saturday after 2 weeks, that would be a total of 14 nights. So now that we know the number of nights, we can determine how much time you're going to spend in each. So the next thing you need to do is write out all of the places that you really want to go to, but do that on Post-its that we can move around and play with. So let's say these are all the places in Italy that you've been dreaming of going to. What you need to do on these Post-its next is write down how many nights you need in each place. So with my recommendation, in bigger cities that have a lot of sights to see, my recommendation as a minimum is 3 nights. And that's because that gives you 2 full days of sightseeing, because with arriving and departing from that city, you need that extra time. So 2 full days of sightseeing is 3 nights. So on the big cities here, we have Rome, Venice, and Florence. We're going to give each of them 3 nights. This is a minimum amount of time. This is where we're starting with. And then for staying in a smaller town, these are actually regions, not towns. So this would be after you've determined, when you determine the town that you want to stay in. The minimum amount of time that you want to spend in a smaller area is 2 nights. That gives you 1 full day of sightseeing. So we're going to give 2 nights for each of these. Now, if you're doing the math in this, you'll notice that we are over those 14 nights. We only had 14 nights of vacation time, and yet we are at 15 nights on our plan here. So that means that's when we need to start to eliminate. And we're not going to eliminate numbers of nights in places, we're going to eliminate places. The way that I like to eliminate places, well, first thing is I think about which places I care about the least. Another thing that I look at is a map. So looking at a map is extremely important to see which places are the closest together, because that'll help you decrease your transportation time, giving you more time to actually see what you want to see and do what you want to do there. Also, I like to keep big hubs that are a good starting and ending point. So looking at this, I see that we have 3 good travel hubs: Rome, Venice, and Florence. So we'll need to keep at least 2 of those to fly into and out of. And then looking at a map, I noticed that the Amalfi Coast is so far down that it's not really close to anything else. And then also the Cinque Terre is, first of all, where I got engaged. So I have a personal connection to the Cinque Terre and I absolutely love it. But it's also not really as close to these other cities that you've been dreaming about going to. However, Tuscany, Florence is in Tuscany, so that makes a lot of sense in this itinerary. So we're going to we're going to eliminate the Cinque Terre and the Amalfi Coast and know that we'll do those on another trip. Now, once we do this math again, we notice that we only have 11 nights planned. And that's good. You want to end up with less nights than you already have, because right now we have the minimum amount of time in each place. And this is where it actually gets fun, is you can start adding in time in places. The more time you have in a place, the better. So the first thing that I would do in determining where I want to add in those times is think about the number of sites I really want to see in each of those places. So if you know that you want to go to Rome because you want to see the Colosseum and you want to see the Forum and there's museums that you want to see and you want to go through a coin in the Trevi Fountain and you want to go to the Spanish Steps and you want to see the Borghese Museum and you want to do this and you want to do this and you want to do this, that's a lot of things. So my kind of rule to help me determine how much time I need in a place is give myself about 2 big sites per day, 1 to 2 big sites per day. And then that'll tell me how many days I need. And then for a night, you need 1 extra night, if that makes sense. So if I have 7 sites that I really wanted to see in Rome, for example, then I would need about 4 days in order to see all of those things. So I would need 5 nights in Rome. So I'm just going to do that right away, give 5 nights here. And we still don't have the full 14. So looking at these, I would say, oh, maybe you don't want to spend just 1 day in Tuscany. Maybe you want to relax a little bit more and give yourself another day there. So now we have our 14 nights. So the next thing that you need to do after you have determined how many nights you have in each is then figure out the order. Where are you going to fly into? Where are you going to fly out of? Are the most important things to figure out, but also just this kind of sequence of events. So looking at a map, you can see that it's very clearly, it works with Rome, and then Tuscany, and Florence, and then over to Venice last. So we're going to put it in that. You could also do the opposite, but we're going to go ahead and put it in that order. You're going to start in Rome. You're going to break up some big city with hill country, Tuscany, wine tasting, all that kind of stuff. Then you're going to go to another city. I should go this way. Florence. We have 2 full days of sightseeing, unless you're going to end up in Venice and fly out from there. Okay, so just to recap on those steps, the first thing you need to do is make sure that you count the number of nights that you're actually going to have on your trip. You're going to write down all of those places that you want to go on separate Post-its. Next, you need to determine how many nights you need in each place. Remember my rule of no less than 3 nights in a bigger city with lots of sites and no less than 2 nights in a smaller town. Next, you need to eliminate any places that put you over your time or are way out of the way. Finally, you needed to order a logical order using a map. I hope going through the process with me was really helpful in you creating the perfect itinerary so that you have the most amazing trip.